Welcome, everybody, to Missing the Point on the Radcast Network. I am your host, Michael Marcangelo. As football season approaches, New England Patriots fans could either be doom, gloom, joyous. Who better to either keep us off the ledge or keep our optimism high than our favorite guest, Miss Karen Guregian from Mass Live. Karen, it's so good to have you.
It's good to have you. How come there's no option about pushing you over the ledge? No?
Well, I think for the last 5 years, you've done a pretty good job of keeping me off of it. And this year, in our little pre-show discussion, you said that you might actually be a source of my optimism. So I think here's what we should do. And it's completely up to you. If you decide that you don't want to do it this way, you can just say, F it, and you can run the show.
No.
Talk a little bit about Vrabel's first year, everything that's gone into it so far, what he's looking to do. Obviously, we'll talk about the roster, Drake May, surprises, and then at the end we'll do our wins-loss total because you were right last year. I'm pretty sure you're repping a 2-year streak here on MTP. But I'd love to start first with your recent sit down and your most recent story with Ernie Adams, if that's okay.
Yes, yeah, that was fun.
Perfect. So I'll give a little professional segue here, and then we'll go into it. In your most recent Mass Live piece, you sat down with Ernie Adams, the legendary behind-the-scenes strategist who worked hand-in-hand with Belichick for decades. What I thought was interesting is that he praised Mike Vrabel's command of situational football, but also threw a bit of caution on how quickly fans should expect the Patriots to rise. Is that what you took away from it too?
Yeah, and he was primarily basing it on if you can't block, you're not going anywhere. So, and it was kind of we were talking about, at the time I spoke to him, there were all these grandiose playoff expectations and 12 wins and, the sky's the limit. Everyone was kind of over the moon. And as I said, he kind of threw a caution flag. And mostly it was because of the roster, which is still lacking, and the fact that the offensive line remains a question mark. And as he said, if you can't block, you can't win. So
I guess, okay, so there are so many positives, or what seem to be positive things to take away from the Patriots this offseason. I guess my question, are they really positive, or were things just so bad here the last 2 years that mediocre would seem great right now?
Well, I think the positives are, I think you have a good man in charge, being the head coach, who actually has experience. And I think he's a very good motivational leader, that being Mike Vrabel. And I think he's a very good tactical leader on game day. I mean, we saw it when he went up against Belichick. He was beating Belichick at his own game. So, he's really smart. And I think many of us can agree that they won 4 games last year, but they might have won a few more had they had a head coach who knew what he was doing in the fourth quarter. So, or
maybe one less,
had more experience,
right? Or just maybe not won that last game that took you out of the top, spot in the draft.
Well, yeah, that too. Well, if there's a team that can botch, trying to lose, I guess it was them. They picked the wrong quarterback for the assignment, put it that way.
Yep.
So, there was no way Joe Milton was going to want to stink to lose. That's his first game action, and he's trying to make an impression. So I would have gone with somebody else who understood the assignment, perhaps Jacoby Brissett.
He seemed to do great with that.
Right. So And again, the Bills didn't help the cause either. They didn't they didn't want the Patriots to lose to get that pick either. So
Sticking with the Ernie Adams topic for a second. Uh, I'm gonna butcher this guy's last name, so I'm just gonna call him Stretch.
Stretch is the perfect name. Yes.
It's so is he the next Ernie Adams? Because I felt like this discussion about him was, I mean, I had never heard of this man before, and I like to consider myself a pretty
Yeah.
big Patriots fan. Who is he? What does he do? And are the Patriots in good hands, do you think?
Well, I know that Mike Vrabel trusts him like Bill trusted Ernie Adams. And I mean, their roles, I mean, the obvious role is being the eye in the sky on game day. And, Stretch will be alerting Mike when to throw the flag, basically, to use replay. That's what Ernie used to do. But it the scope of it is so much more than that. I mean, in-game strategy, in-game situations, when to go on fourth down, when not to go. Those type of things. Like Ernie was in Bill's ear, Stretch will be in Mike Vrabel's ear, basically, kind of going over things as they happen and giving his opinion, which Mike Vrabel values very highly. They first met at Ohio State when Mike Vrabel was like an assistant coach there. And when Vrabel took over as the head coach at Tennessee, he brought Stretch with him. And I believe that was like in 2018. And basically, Stretch was Vrabel's eye in the sky, closest confidant, chief strategist when they were in Tennessee as well. So
Did did Mayo have one of these?
I think he sort of did. uh, but the difference being a lot of the people around Mayo were new to him. It's like he didn't have like a guy that he's been around a million years and trusted, let's say.
Right.
So,
I don't want to go too far off track, but we are talking about Mayo, and it does kind of pique my interest that we really still have not heard from him. Do you think we ever will again, or we'll ever hear his side of the story, aside from if he wants to release a book 5 or
yeah,
10 years down
maybe
the line?
maybe a book would be smart. I actually think it's smart for him to kind of stay under the radar and not say anything and not like add on to the pile.
Yep.
I almost think that I don't know, maybe the paid well, here's the other part of the equation. The Patriots are still paying him. So
Mm,
I don't know if there's some kind of non-disclosure. I mean, who knows?
right.
But, he's basically gone underground.
Yeah, it's just weird. I would say it was a high profile job. Obviously, it was a high profile exit. And
Mm.
usually coaches like that, and Mayo I thought it was fine in front of the microphone. Like you'd think he'd land, on a TV role or something, but you just haven't heard anything from him.
Yep.
Well, I haven't. I don't know if you have. I can't speak for you.
We've had some communication, but nothing beyond like a text back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. Well, uh, my okay. So I am really optimistic about the New England Patriots this season. My optimism is not, division winning, conference winning. It's literally about playing meaningful, competent football in December. Will my expectations be met or will I be disappointed this year based on your opinion on what you've seen, how you're talking with them?
Well, as long as Drake May doesn't go down, as long as a few other people don't go down, I think I think your take is completely within reason. And I'll tell you why. even though again they're really thin roster wise, meaning again, if Drake goes down, they're in trouble. If believe it if not, if the left tackle Will Campbell, who everyone's worried about, goes down, they're really in trouble. They don't have the horses depth wise, so they're bad, so that like they're in trouble when the next man up shows up, put it that way. So that's, a potential derailer. But I do think they have enough talent to win games. I think the schedule helps them.
Yep.
And I think again, they have a coach and a coaching staff that really knows what it's doing. And I think we saw in in games that Belichick coached early on, having a better coach on your sideline is impactful. It makes a difference. And so I think all of those factors, plus I think the players are really buying into what Vrabel is selling. You put all those things together, and I do think they also have some promising young players who we'll probably talk about on the roster. And I think, it's not unrealistic to say that they might be playing some meaningful football in December. Plus, and I say this all the time, and I might have even said it when Gerard took over, when you have a coaching change, and along with, a change in the offensive scheme, a change in the defensive scheme, we saw this with when Parcells took over. We saw it when Belichick took over. It takes a little while for everything to kind of gel and all the players to kind of get it or get it in a game setting. So I think we saw, both when Parcells took over and when Belichick took over, might have taken half the season or less, but then once they figured it out, they were, a much better team toward the end of the season. So while they might start out a little slowly, kind of ironing out the kinks, getting used to each other, getting used to, the coaches getting used to the coaches, on and on and on. I think they'll really be hitting their stride down the stretch, which is kind of how Belichick, wanted it to be. He wanted
Yep.
his teams playing their best football toward the end of the season into the playoffs, as opposed to reverse.
Right.
So, so it's a building process, and I think we'll see that with this team.
Okay, I love that. I thought you were going to be a little more like pushing me towards they're going to be a playoff team, but well, we can go there a little bit
I'm not
later.
quite going there yet, but no. Go ahead.
Um, so in terms of the impact that Mike Vrabel is looking to have, in a couple of your recent articles, you noted how Vrabel's trying to put his stamp on the roster. So along those same lines, like in your opinion, like what's the bar he needs to hit for fans and ownership to feel like this season is a success?
Well, I think he stated it. I think the owner, Robert Kraft, stated playoffs. Now, if they have a winning record and just miss, I personally, after back-to-back 4-win seasons, I personally would think that would be a successful year.
Yeah.
Um, if they just miss getting in. But again, Vrabel wants to get in the playoff, wants to win the division.
Sure.
I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously get in the playoffs, host home playoff games, and be a contending team, if not a championship team.
So that seems a little strong, right?
Well, I mean, it's not happening today, tomorrow.
Right.
It's again, they're in a rebuild, really. and and the biggest signs of all that are all the roster turnover, basically.
Right.
And there's been a ton of roster turnover. So when you do that, you don't rebuild and win immediately.
What do you say to the fans out there, or the media pundits, or the podcast hosts? I'm talking about Rayshon Buchanan, who say that this is year 4 of the rebuild. When we are all, I think now that we can finally say, Belichick's gone, all remnants of Belichick and Brady are gone. I would say last year was actually year 1. And maybe this is year 2, but I'd love your perspective just on, again, we've had since 2021, and I think that we can say that that was an aberration, or just because of all the money that they spent. But since 2019, we've really been in this mediocrity. So
Hellhole.
yeah, right. I mean, so are we? Is this year 1? Is it year 2? Is it year 5? And we're that far behind. Would love your take on that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of semantics.
Yeah,
Again, it again depends on, were they, you know, when Bill, when Brady left, were they really rebuilding? Maybe, maybe not. Although it seemed like it. Were they rebuilding last year when Bill was finally ushered out the door and you had Gerard Mayo? Technically, you could say so. But again, with Vrabel taking over and basically gutting the roster,
yeah.
uh, I almost think like this is we're hitting ground zero here, pretty much. There's like no holdovers, no leftovers from any championship team on this.
Yeah, I think the only person on the roster that's won a championship, isn't that Milton Williams?
Right, but I'm talking about the Patriot.
Right, exactly.
The only, I mean, Vrabel is it, but he
Yeah,
doesn't count because he's the coach.
right.
But they've swept away all past ties with championships. So I would argue this is ground zero.
And not to harp on the subject for too long, but why do you think it took the New England Patriots? We'll say that Brady leaving was the first step in what should have been a rebuild. And that was 5 years ago. Why did it take them 5 years to actually fully commit to it?
Stubbornness and arrogance.
In that order?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, because Bill was still in control. Robert went along with letting Brady leave. And so all the chips were in on Belichick's side, pretty
Yeah.
much. And I think all the winning and all of the times he was outsmarting and out coaching people kind of led him to believe that they could win no matter who was playing quarterback, no matter who was coaching the offense.
Right.
I mean, it's again arrogance, stubbornness, hubris,
It's
stupidity.
it's it's really that. Sorry to jump on you because I didn't know you were going to say stupidity. I wish I didn't speak over you, but
Yeah.
it feels to me like the '08 season and the 2020 season, looking back on it, were the most harmful for anyone that was opposing Bill, because he can say, "I won 11 games without Tom Brady." Oh, and then the year after, I won 7 games with Cam Newton on a $1 million contract.
Right. Uh, but it was basically also winning that last Super Bowl, I mean, you brought that up against the Rams when they once, it's almost like bookends, right?
Yep.
That Rams team that they played in 2018 was the second coming of the greatest show on turf.
Yep.
And Bill's defense made them look like clowns. 3 points. And that was Bill kind of reasserting himself and saying, Tom, it's me, pal, it's me.
Right.
So it wasn't just him.
You don't say. I'm sure some North Carolina Tar Heel fans are waking up to that reality too, because that was a shellacking.
It sure was. And again, I mean, it's sad. I mean, I do still consider Belichick a defensive genius, a great defensive mind, but he's lost his fastball. There's no question about that. I mean, if you look at what the Patriots were, I'll draw a parallel, right? Toward the end of his run, couldn't tackle, couldn't, you know,
Yep.
missed assignments. I mean, sloppy, don't know. I mean, it's just that was what you saw with North Carolina. Same thing. Fundamentally awful.
Yeah. It's true.
But that's what the Patriots evolved for again, all the early brilliance. And one of their advantages being that they were so well coached. They all knew the rules. They all, all the fundamental and techniques and all those things that they had an upper hand in all those early years, the first decade plus and a half to two, it like completely fell off the rails toward the end of Belichick's run. Those teams weren't well coached.
Nope.
Those teams were not fundamentally sound. They were jumping off sides, missing tackles, all these things that they were so well schooled in just kind of went out the door. And that was North Carolina. Watching them.
Aside from that opening, like what is it, 7 or 8 play sequence, which
Scripted
like
drive, yeah.
you and I know that Bill spent 4 months preparing them for those 8 plays, and then after that, there was just nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
And you hear pundits on everywhere saying, well, they just don't have the horses. He
Well, that's
picked
the
them.
other part.
He
That's the
picked them.
yeah. That's the other part of the equation. Maybe there was a time when Ty Law could go down and Bill could call up and get Hank Poteet off the street, right? And coach him
Sure.
up and coach him up, and they could win a Super Bowl that way. You can't do it anymore. You need the players, you need the horses, you need the talent. And while, the Patriots' current edition, their talent level has improved over last year. It was so bad last year that even improvement doesn't quite, there's still this gap in with them and like the better players teams in the league.
I think one thing that I was getting from your recent articles, where like let's just call, if they could just play 11 on 11 and all those 22 players would remain healthy all year, they're middle of the road, maybe even like playoff teetering. But
Yes.
no, they don't stay healthy. We all know injuries will bite every team, and it seems like you pointed out how top heavy this roster looks. So does that weigh into us tempering our expectations on what we think they can do this year?
I mean, it should to a degree. Again, because, are they going to remain healthy the whole year? No. you know, and a lot of these teams weather the storm better than others because, again, their depth pool in terms of talent is still pretty good. The Patriots are really thin in a lot of key positions. And again, I'll point again, left tackle. And you have Will Campbell, who you have questions about, but it's like if he goes down, you go back to the Vidarian Lowell, and we saw how that
Oh,
turned out last year. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's their depth.
that's scary.
Linebacker, they have this great linebacker, Robert Spillane, they signed. If he goes down, then what?
I thought you were supposed to talk me off the cliff.
Well, no, I'm just pointing out some areas of concern. But again, maybe they find people, maybe they get to sign more people, maybe they make trade. They have all this money to spend.
All
So,
of it.
we'll see.
Speaking of potential trades, Elliot Wolf and team, they seem to be signaling an openness to trading and to parting ways with first or second round picks. Is that true, or do you think that they're just trying to save face with the fan base?
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you're the so-called GM of a team and you're lacking talent and you're have a media interview scrum and you're asked, would you be willing to part with a first or second round pick? How smart would it be to say no?
Sure.
Think about that.
Oh no, I know that, but in previous incarnations, they wouldn't even have entertained that thought. It would have been Bill saying, we'll assess all trades, we'll snort, all that crap." So then I would just respond, why weren't they in the Micah Parsons
Well,
poll?
I mean, Micah Parsons cost 2 first round picks.
Yep.
And is Green Bay rebuilding
No.
where they could use some draft picks, unlike the Patriots? I mean, the Patriots need the draft picks, or need the first round draft picks.
Sure.
To be, and I mean, the answer of the question is you have to have context. They've been so bad at drafting the last 4 or 5 years. You cannot, and that's why their talent pool is so bad. They've had to spend basically to make up for bad drafts.
Yep.
They did it this year. They spent and they overspent just to bring in a higher grade of talent that they had. But again, most competent NFL teams or GMs rebuild through the draft. That's the
Yep.
process. You hit on your draft picks, and that's how you become good, and that's how you sustain success. All the Patriots have done with their draft picks is sustain awful teams.
You're not wrong. So I
Right?
guess I would
And
ask.
and again, if you're a new regime like with Mike Vrabel coming in, you have to hope that you get that better, that you fix that. And again, that you don't have to like spend and overpay it's just not a good way to run a team, that you have to every year overspend, overpay to make up for a talent deficit that's caused by poor drafting.
I assume, and I don't know this, that you are speaking about Milton Williams, who was probably the Philadelphia Eagles' third best defensive tackle that we overpaid just to improve our
He
defensive line.
was the best in the talent pool of free agents
Yep.
on the defensive front. And again, it was a Patriots need. So yeah, he was going somewhere else, but the Patriots had to call back. They had to get him. They had to overpay and give him whatever the heck he wanted to bring him here.
So, do you think, because it doesn't sound like it, but I'll obviously give you the chance to change my mind. Do you think that the Patriots have fixed their pass rush problem or just slightly improved it?
Well, I think the proof will be on the field when we see it. But in theory, putting Milton Williams next to Barmore up front allows you to have pressure in the middle. Bringing in Harold Landry and Kalavon Chason, gives you at least something from the outside. But the biggest thing to improve their pass rush was getting Carlton Davis. And in theory, again, having two lockdown corners who don't need safety help, you can blitz like crazy with your safeties to provide, again, pressure, pass rush.
Yep.
Because you're not worried that you need two safety help all over the field.
Which brings us to Christian Gonzalez.
Mm.
Okay. How bad is it? Like, is this something that's going to keep him off the field in your mind for an extended period of time, or do they rush him
Well,
back?
it's already kept him for an extended. We're going on 5 weeks. It is
It's
5
preseason
weeks.
though. I'm okay with them not playing in preseason. I want to know week 1 regular season.
Yeah, it's bothersome he wasn't on the field Monday. I mean, can you, after missing 5 weeks, just all of a sudden practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and be anywhere near yourself for Sunday? I mean, I don't know. I would think
Would you
not, but
would you put him out there if he was 85,
no,
90%? Or do you
no.
think they will?
There is not the hugest need to do it week 1 against the team that they're playing with the receiver group that they're playing. But then it'll get interesting when they go to Miami
Right.
and have to face Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yep. Well, we don't need. We'll take a look at their schedule because I always love, because I think the same way as you. It's like, oh, the Raiders, who do they have? But then I remember it's like, oh, the Patriots, who do we have in terms of a receiving core? But we do have a bright spot. We need to move this to a positive point of view. Efton Chism. I probably screwed his name up.
Yes. He was one of the stars of training camp in the preseason. And I think there's something there. Whether he gets on the field is another matter. Because he is down on the depth chart. I don't think he's going to take reps over Stefon Diggs or Pop Douglas or Matt Collins or Kayshon Boutte.
Williams.
What's that?
Kyle Williams. He might take some of his snaps, right?
I don't even know if Kyle Williams is going to get many snaps.
This is such a weird problem to have. We don't have it. I mean, in theory, we don't have a star-studded receiving core, but we have all these receivers.
They're basically all the same.
Sure.
And so you would tend to go with your veterans over first-year players, rookies.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I gotta say, midway through this, Karen, you built me up.
Are you depressed?
Well, I came in here not being depressed because you told me, you know what, I might keep you really optimistic, and I gotta say, this is not doing that.
I did tell you optimistic things, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of a realist. How's that?
You are.
A realist.
Okay, so
Or I try to be.
from your realist perspective, what what should what do you expect out of Stefon Diggs this year? And what will I guess we'll just stick with the first question because then I think I'll have a couple follow up. But based on what you've seen, based on what you've heard, what should we expect from Stefon Diggs?
I think he I think he'll be at least as good as he was for Houston last year before he got
Okay.
hurt. Except he was like a more of a number two there. They had Nico Collins and they had actually really good receivers with the Texans. And Diggs, accepted the role, but he still had an impact.
Yep.
Now he's sort of semi the top gun, but I also think that players like him, he wants to show people that he's still good. He wants to show people, hey, ACL surgery, no big deal. I'm back faster than anybody else, and watch how good I'm going to be. So I think he's motivated, put it that way.
So if he does what he almost did last year with Houston, or what he was on track to do, that's something along the lines of 70 catches, 900 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yep.
Or, as we
But
would put
if
it here
he
in New England, the best wide receiver performance since Julian Edelman in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also think, the other thing to remember here, Josh McDaniels is leading the offense and he's calling the plays, and for me, he was always good at getting lesser receivers open or scheming them open.
Mm-hmm.
Put it that way.
Yep.
He got the most out of Mac Jones, I think, that one year. And I think Drake May is way better. And I think, the receivers and the tight ends, I think the cast that they have is well suited to what Josh likes to do offensively. And you would hope that, after he came in and they started bringing players in who fit that mold, or fit his scheme, let's say. And again, it's an adjustment for all of them to kind of figure out that offense or more the language. But I think, every person who's been in it that I've talked to says once you get it, it's great. Once you know what you're supposed to do, or that what they want you to do, and if you can get in sync with all of that, it's really good.
So one of the players that was familiar with Josh and that loved his system that was here, Kendrick Bourne,
Mhm.
is no longer. Did that shock you or surprise you in the least?
I was surprised. But again, if you look at the hierarchy that I just kind of mapped out for you, Diggs, Pop Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, who I think was like one of their better players. I mean, he's really improved incrementally. Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins. So you know, where does Kendrick fit in that? When you got 4 or 5 already kind of entrenched. And here's the other part of it. So you have at least 4. Josh McDaniels' offense is big on tight ends.
Yep.
Usage of tight ends, 2 tight ends. So I think they basically said to Kendrick, look, you're going to have to play a reserve role. And if you're Kendrick Bourne, maybe that's not what you're looking for.
So I wasn't as surprised by that as I was by Jabrill Peppers.
Hmm.
Because when you think of the identity that Vrabel is trying to create for the Patriots and the
He's the
smash mouth
poster boy.
football,
The poster
yeah,
boy.
I mean, he said we want violence. I mean, there's no one that I would say over the last couple of years for the Patriots that's echoed that more than Jabrill Peppers. So, what happened? Because it feels like it happened quickly.
Yeah, I think a few things happened. They've changed their defensive scheme. And, it relies, complete change from Bill Belichick's scheme, where your safeties were like downhill thumpers. Well, this defense is more predicated on speed and coverage. And that's kind of why both Duggar and Peppers don't quite fit, or
Yep.
aren't quite, fit's not a good word, aren't suited, right? And I think within the past few weeks, kind of like Kendrick Bourne, who was actually injured and wasn't participating, but when Kendrick Bourne was participating, was with the second and third team. The past few weeks, Jabrill Peppers was with the second team. So it was apparent for those of us watching practice when we got to watch the whole practices that he was supplanted by a rookie. And Jalen Hawkins also. But again, they're looking more for speed and coverage. When it comes to their safeties,
Yep.
they want the linebackers and the guys up front to be violent. I hate using that word, but that's where they're looking for the pop. They're really trying to focus on speed and coverage from the second and third level. Now, even saying that, was Peppers like one of your best 53? Absolutely. He was in one of your best 30.
Yep.
But unlike Duggar, who's been a good soldier about the whole thing and is also recovering from ankle surgery, I would think, and again, I don't know this for a fact, I'm guessing it probably didn't sit well with Peppers to be a backup.
Because he was a Bill guy, but you would have thought that there are like a few players on this roster, to your point, that you would say, okay, but they have a lot of the same skill sets that you think would make sense for this new iteration. But when you lay it out in the sense you just did about being faster and quicker in the coverage game, those words are not synonymous with Jabrill Peppers.
No. I mean, but would he be good in certain specialty situations?
Sure.
Of course. But, but did they want a sourpuss in the locker room?
And are we good enough to have a player like that just for special situations when, to your point, we need better depth at other positions, right? I don't think we don't have the luxury of that.
Oh, you need better depth at that position too. but again, Vrabel is trying to completely revamp this roster and revamp it in an image and in a play style that he wants the team to be, or he wants them to play. And if you don't fit that vision, chances are you're going to be on the outside looking in.
Now, I know that I have the final two people I'm going to ask you about will be positive. I know it in my bones, so I'm just going to pause.
I love Efton Chism too. I think I love what he brings to the table. And he does remind you of a Danny Amendola or Julian Edelman.
Yep.
And, I think if push comes to shove, he will force his way on the field. Because he is like that determined.
Yep.
But if you think you're going to see a ton of Efton Chism early on,
No. And I do think that
and
if he did,
that's again, that's being a realist. Okay.
yep,
I love him. I love that he's on the 53. Okay. Players like him should be, should be rewarded. And,
yep,
and all he did was make plays. And you can't have enough of that, right? But I just think, for the reasons that I mapped out, he's not going to be starting. He
no,
might not even get in for who knows when. He might not even dress. Him and Kyle Williams might not even dress
yep.
on Sundays when you have to cut down to 45. I mean, we'll see how that shakes out. But I would guess that one of those two, will be in street clothes on game day.
Now, for all those haters out there, what I'm about to say, by no means am I making the exact same comparison, but I do felt like after that game, when you saw Chisholm just light it up, it reminded me of the Malcolm Butler preseason game from 2014
Mm.
when you never heard of this guy, and he was in the preseason, he was just making plays. I think he broke up 4 passes,
Mm.
almost had a pick in one of them, and then we didn't really hear from him again until that Super Bowl. Again, I'm not saying that this is the same thing,
Yeah,
but that's why I was so excited when I saw him. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this in a long time.
right. Well, the other thing is, yeah, again, you have to contextualize all this. Efton Chisholm was, making hay against second and third stringers,
Yeah.
right? Is he going to have the
Yep.
same impact going against top NFL corners as opposed to the scrubs?
Well, remember, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard enough. So maybe, just maybe, he'll find some success.
Right. Well, he'll keep working his butt off every single practice, and at some point he will get rewarded for it.
TreVeyon Henderson.
Hmm.
I mean, there are actually odds that he will be that he'll be rookie of the year, which I don't know how that's going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, but what's the mood like between him and Ramondre? Is Ramondre going to give up his spot as the top running back, or? I mean, obviously, I think either way, as long as they're both healthy, this is a really good thing for the New England Patriots.
Yeah. What again? TreVeyon Henderson, I don't think would be able to endure being the full-time every down back. He's
Right,
just not
100%.
right. So there's no competition with Ramondre. Really, there isn't.
Well, who would be like? I guess my question would be: is
So
TreVeyon going to be a 2 down back, and Ramondre moves to a 1 down back, or is it the other way around?
again, I think it'll be all situationally. Again, for now, I think TreVeyon is going to be the typical third down back. But we saw, did anyone think that James White wasn't an important and integral part to those teams?
Yeah. Okay. Good comp.
And especially if they're behind in games. You want the
Right.
explosive. He'll see more action depending on the score, too. So, but again, you're playing with fire. If you're going to put him out there for 60 snaps or whatever, he's a guy that you want to use third down and situationally to move the chains or to make an explosive play or to give yourself a chance to make an explosive play. You don't want him getting punished down after down after down after down.
No. No. He didn't do it in college either. So like
Right,
he can't be
right.
a 3 down back.
But I hear it all the time. Oh, he's got to replace Ramondre. He's got to be the lead back. No. But just if you're not the lead back doesn't mean you don't have an important place in the offense.
Yeah.
They'll line
I
him
mean,
up. They'll line him up a
so,
receiver too. So
he is so explosive. Like, we haven't seen this type of
right.
explosivity in the backfield.
And again, it'll be up to Josh to get the ball in his hands as much as he can. But again, that's what he did with James White. That's what he did with Kevin Falk. That's what he did with these backs who were, explosive or were just such good pass catchers and such playmakers and such chain movers. You get the ball in their hands. He'll have enough touches. Trust me on that.
And last but not least, what? So obviously Drake May has been we're pinning a lot of our hopes and dreams on him as the second coming, fair or unfair. I'd be interested to hear
Second coming of what?
Drew Bledsoe. I'd be happy with that. I'd be fine with that, by the way. I love Drew. But it's, he's not the guy that's replacing Tom, but he is the guy that's replacing the guy that was supposed to replace Tom. So that's just as tricky.
Okay.
You don't agree?
Yeah, I don't. The way I look at it is the past is the past. You're trying to build a future with a competent quarterback or a quarterback who's even more than competent, because quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. And teams who have good to really good to great quarterbacks are the teams that succeed. So your hope for Drake May is not to be Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady, or whatever. You want him to be the next coming of a great Patriot quarterback. You want
Fair.
him to be great because you want him to lead. You want him to make the people around him better, because those are the teams that win.
Yep. I just would make that comparison because, and I'm young, obviously not that young, but I like to say that I am. The Patriots have had 3 great quarterbacks in their history. Is that fair to say?
Tell me the 3.
Steve Grogan, Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady.
What about quarterbacks who have gone on to be great and won Super Bowls elsewhere, like Jim Plunkett?
Yes. So I would say he was in the Patriots system, but you'd never look back and call him a great Patriots quarterback, right?
That's because they had no line and he got pummeled.
Okay, so what we don't want Drake May to be the second coming of Jim Plunkett in for the Patriots.
Right.
We can agree on that.
I mean, but look, you can't argue with Jim Plunkett. He won a Super Bowl. And he was a big part of that Super Bowl. It's not like he was handing the ball off.
Yep.
Every down. Right? So
all of this to say.
oh, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
No, you said wait a minute.
Well, they had another quarterback who was pretty good before coming here.
Pretty good before Vinny Testaverde.
Well, yeah, no, he didn't win. But who is the quarterback who immediately replaced Tom Brady?
Cam Newton.
He was pretty good somewhere else. They just got
he was great.
He was done, basically.
When he legitimately could not throw the ball anymore.
Correct.
So, right.
But in his heyday with Carolina, Belichick didn't want to face him. He was too good. Because he could run, and in those days he could actually throw.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the game that they lost on what should have been a pass interference call in the end zone when Belichick threw a hissy fit. But Cam was great.
Not here.
Definitely not here. Neither was Vinny. Doug Flutie, not great here. Great in the Canadian Football League and with the Bills. What's the biggest difference in Drake May from rookie year to now his second training camp that you've noticed?
Well, I think the circumstances were different. It's like he went into the season last year as the backup.
Yeah.
And he had Jacoby Brissett in front of him, and he was very deferential, to Jacoby. And it's a big difference this year. Like, they cleared the runway, they cleared the path. He's the guy. There's no question about who's the guy. It's his team, it's his offense. And so I think, I think they want him to be even more of a leader or to take more ownership, but you can see it. I mean, I've seen signs of it, how he'll talk to guys, or I see him talking to receivers in the locker room, going over plays and doing things. Again, he's in charge. And it took a while. He had to learn Josh McDaniels, that system. But I think once he got more comfortable, the more assertive he's become. So I kind of like how he's kind of transitioned. He understands they don't want him doing certain things. He understands how turnovers can kill. We'll just have to see how it plays out, though, again,
Yeah.
because it's hard when you can't count on an offensive line to give you more than a half a second, if that. So, I mean, bad lines really mess with quarterbacks.
Yep. Sure do.
And
And
unless you're Tom Brady, who could diagnose what he wanted to do before he even got to the line, or knew where he was going with the ball, and got rid of it so quickly because he was so flippin' smart. And the offensive line didn't have to do a heck of a lot because it was
yeah.
like, get the ball, boom, get the ball, boom. Unless you have that capability, you're kind of at the mercy of the ability of the line to block, which brings us back to Ernie Adams saying, all of which brings us back to Ernie, who said they have to be able to block if they're going to do anything.
See, I told you that you were going to be driving the ship. I mean, you just brought us all the way back to the beginning.
I did.
You
See,
did.
that was pretty good.
That was great. But when you talk about his, reducing the amount of mistakes and limiting them,
Hmm.
turnovers, yeah, that's a killer. How much of it do you think Vrabel recognizes, though, that it's not Drake May's inability to find the open receiver, but to your point, it's in 2 seconds he's under pressure. Or last year they were down. He
Well,
has a 2-10 record.
I think they recognize that, but there's like other areas where, obviously Drake is physically gifted, and his answer a lot of these times was just taking off and running. But, they've made him more aware of, if you're rolling out, think of being a passer first.
Yep.
And not a runner. And that's a pretty big distinction. Like, he would give up on plays because he was running for his life. But instead of giving up on plays and also putting himself at risk, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Of getting hurt. So, we've seen it, how he'll be rolling out, looking. If the play's not there, he'll just run out of bounds. Live for the next play. Or if he does run, oh my God, I saw him do a perfect slide. As opposed to trying to, bully through people. No,
Right.
get down, live another day.
Yep.
You're too important, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but you've seen that maturation. At least we've seen it in training camp in the preseason.
okay, so right now he's 2-10 as a starter. Do you think he cares about that? Or is this for him, like, this is his first year walking into the situation where it's his team, it's been his team, and like it actually starts now for him. Like we don't care about obviously we don't care about last year. Thank God he made that out alive. But he's not a 2-10 quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna give you this is an answer I hate that athletes give, but I'm gonna give it. Well, you'll have to ask him how he feels about being 2-10. I mean, I can't tell you. Or if it's a clean slate, last year doesn't
Yeah.
count. Whatever. I mean, I don't know how athletes deal with stuff like that, you know, but but
Well,
I
I
I
asked,
do think I do think again his mindset and his outlook has changed because he's the guy from jump.
yeah, I think that's I think we can see that too. The reason why I asked that question is because the last rookie quarterback that we drafted that was supposed to be the starter for a couple of years, he did care about what people said about him and his past abilities. And it's striking to me that I don't like you just don't get that sense with Drake,
Mm,
right? It's almost like he's the perfect guy for a situation like this because he just wants to go out there, play the best football for his teammates, win a game, and get off the field alive. Whereas Mac really cared about the way he was talked about.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I think that Drake growing up with
Mm.
in an athletic family with older brothers who are really good athletes too. I mean, I think you kind of you get put in your place or you get a better sense for the outside dynamics, you know. And
Yep.
again, his father was a coach. I don't know. I just think Drake has a better grasp of what he is, who he is, and what's expected.
Are you ready to play wins and losses?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for the fourth time in our illustrious show's history, Miss Karen Guregian will tell us what the Patriots record will be by the end of the year. We're going to go week by week.
Hmm.
Karen, are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready, ready, ready.
Week 1 versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
Win.
We were 1-0. Week 2 at Miami.
Loss.
Okay. All right. Week 3, Pittsburgh comes into Gillette.
Win.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit, just real quick. Is it
Aaron
because it's Aaron
Rodgers. Big deal.
Rodgers?
Big deal.
He did beat us last. Well, we did have Gerard Mayo. You're right. You know what? I'm on the bandwagon. So we're 2-1 going
It's
coming
Mike
against.
Vrabel. It's Mike Vrabel
Right.
against
I'm with you.
Aaron Rodgers.
So we're 2-1.
Yep.
Carolina comes into town.
Yep. Hoping that they're not like too high on their horse at 2-1, I'm going to predict a win, even though I think that is going to be a tough game.
Gonna be a tough game.
Yep.
Yep. 3-1
Yep.
at Buffalo.
Loss.
Okay. At New Orleans.
Win.
4-2 at Tennessee. Homecoming for Vrabel. Week 7.
Win.
5-2. Cleveland comes into town. Whether it's Shador, Gabriel, who knows who's gonna be
Win.
quarterback?
Win.
Is that 6-2?
I don't know. You're doing the math.
It is at six
I'm
and two
just
through
doing the
8.
predicting. Go ahead.
Uh, Atlanta comes to town.
Loss.
6-3 at Tampa Bay. Week 10.
Loss.
6-4. Okay. The Jets come to town. Week 11.
Win.
7-4.
Oh,
Uh,
go ahead.
On the road at Cincinnati.
Loss.
7-5. The Giants come into town week 13.
Win.
So we are 8-5 going into the bye week.
Mhm.
Then this is not a great way to come back from the bye. Week 15, Buffalo comes into town.
Loss.
8-6 at Baltimore.
Loss.
8-7 At the Jets.
Loss.
8-8. And then week 18 versus Miami.
Win.
So you heard it here. Karen Guregian has the Patriots finishing at 9-8 in the 2025 NFL season. Is that good enough to make the playoffs, or is it just what we said at the beginning of the show? Make December competitive.
It makes December competitive. I mean, they have an outside shot, but I don't know. There's a lot of good teams from the West. A lot of good teams in the North. So we'll see.
I think it goes without saying that this is my favorite show of the year. And I'm so glad that you continue to come back.
Yeah,
And
but I thought I was like disappointing you by being a realist.
well, no, maybe I was just more optimistic than you've ever seen me in terms of the Patriots season, but I think everything that you said is true.
But I think 9-8 is pretty good. That should be optimistic.
Could easily be 10-7 if they do beat the Jets at New York.
Twice. Yeah.
Yep.
Or if they somehow
Split with
sneak out
Buffalo.
sneak a win against Buffalo, but
I'll take 9-8 over 2 straight 4-13s any day of the week. If that's not optimism, I don't know.
that
I don't know what
see?
is.
I delivered.
You did it. You did. You always deliver. You brought it back full circle. Karen, thank you so much for taking the time again. It really is an absolute joy and a pleasure. So for Karen Guregian, I am Michael Marcangelo saying thank you so much for listening to Missing the Point on the Radcast Network, and we will talk to you next week.